Welcome to the introductory Scratch lesson number 3. In the second one, we got familiar with different groups of coding blocks and started to learn how to combine them into scripts or codes. We noticed that they're divided by colors and shapes to help us combine them properly. For instance, to trigger any stack of blocks into action, the first block needs to be an event block right here. So let's pick this one when the green flag is clicked. Then we can keep stacking all other blocks to it, assisted by the notches and bumps in shapes. Here we're going to use one that we still did not address so far to change the costume of our sprite and then say for our sprite to say that classical phrase, hello world, right? So we're gonna find these in the looks, right? Here's the switch to costume. We're gonna see in a moment what does that do. And also we want our sprite to say that classical phrase, hello world, right? Right here. Remember also that the code executes from top to bottom, block by block, just like in traditional coding, a line by line of a written code in that case. So let's see what happens when we run this one, right? To execute, we're going to press the green flag, right? So what did we notice? Note that our sprites stayed the same, but it assumed a different shape. All the different shapes of a single sprite are called costumes of that sprite. There's no magic about it. It only means that there are already different versions of that sprite imported into Scratch. This brings us to the main topic today, as we want to learn a bit more about sprites and how to use them, as everything we do in Scratch really revolves around sprites. We've seen our default sprite, the cat, so let's first add some other sprite. We already know where to find them, right? In the sprites palette. We can search for any existing one, so let's pick one from there, right? So for a reason that will become clear very soon, I'm gonna pick a soccer player here, right? So now we have two sprites on our stage, but look at the block editor. What happened to our code, right? So there's no code in the block editor that we just wrote. Why is that? This is because our coding is tied to sprites. Note this faint symbol in the top right corner. It reminds us that the code put together in this block editor assigns actions only for that sprite. If we click back on the cat icon right here, then we go back to the code we originally wrote for the cat. Next, in the first panel on the left, we examined only the code tab so far, right here, right? But there are two more tabs. The first one is costumes, and that's where we can examine, edit, or add more versions of the active sprite. And the second one is sounds, as sprites also have sounds assigned to them. So if we click costumes, right, we see there are two versions, two costumes of the cat. In sounds, if we click here, we see that there is only one meow sound associated with the cat, right? So if we can play it, right? So we can not only edit this sound right here, but we also have a full palette here in the corner where we can also choose, record our own sound, get a random sound, or upload the sound if we created it outside of this software, right? So this is very, very convenient. Now, other sprites can have different number of costumes. That's why we introduced this soccer player. If we set this one active, we can see that it actually has 4 costumes, right? So if we click through them, we can notice that they give us an appearance of shooting and a celebration, right? Now, if we go back to our cat and we click between these two, right, we also notice that these two give us an appearance of walking or running. Each costume has its name, right? So this one has a name, just simply costume 1, but this round shape, oval shape that we learned so far actually gives us a hint that it can be changed. So we can simply change this to say cat 1, right? And say, for instance, this second costume we can call cat 2, right? We can assign our own names to it. Also, it is very obvious that we have a full editor here, so we can edit any of our costumes if we wish. Also, and then we have another option here. As usual, we have this palette, right? So palette here is very similar to this palette for sprites. So we can also, for the costume, find a costume, paint our own costume, get a random one, or upload it if we created it somewhere else in some other software, right? So let's see what happens, right, if we edit a sprite. So we go to this editor, we're gonna edit this second costume because this is the one we have right now there. So let's see, okay, if we draw something on our costume, also I'm gonna point that we can choose color from the existing one. So if you go here and you can choose whichever color already exists, right? So let's say we can choose black for now. And then we go to this drawing and we edit our cat, our second costume, right? So see what happens. We edit some mustache to our costume. You see it immediately appears here on the stage. So our changed costume is immediately shown on the stage. Don't worry if there's something that is done in mistake or we don't like it anymore. We can easily go back here, so we can remove these changes and we go back to the original sprite. The other thing is, obviously, besides editing, we can add more costumes for this sprite. So simplest thing would be right-click here, say duplicate. So we're creating the third one. You see how it's automatically assigned name cat 3 in the numbering, right? So we're gonna do something really simple here just to show how we can create another costume. So let's say we're gonna change this position of the hand, right, by erasing this hand from the current costume. Right, so we can do this, trying to be a little bit more precise here, and then we can enlarge this so we can delete in less strokes here the rest of the hand. Okay, and then what we can do, we can go back to drawing and let's say we change the thickness here, and then we're gonna change the position of the hand of our cat. So let's say it looks like this, right? And the last thing would be to fill that, right? So to fill, we're gonna also select color to make sure we have the same color as the rest of the cat, and fill it. I'm gonna fill it here. I can go back, zoom out, right? Not the greatest drawing, but you get the idea, right? This is just to show the point. So now, instead of having only 2 costumes, now we have 3 costumes of this cat, right? And obviously you can do whatever else you prefer. The last thing I want to show here really quickly is how to import your own sprite. So let's say you created a custom sprite. This is not in the library here within the Scratch. So you need to go here, right, in this palette for the sprite and say, I want to upload my own sprite, right? This is the sprite that was created. It is uploaded here and you'll notice, okay, I want to show you in general what happens, right? So first of all, this sprite is too big. And the second one is that it has a background, right? It has this white background and we don't want to have this white background. So what is the easiest way to fix this sprite so we can use it in the similar scale and similar appearance as these built-in sprites? So what we do, we go into costumes here, right? To remove the background, we simply go for this fill right here. You see, if we select this line right there, this is essentially to remove the background if the background is a solid color. In our case, it's white. So now, if we go here and we say, okay, remove the background, so there's no background, we need to resolve the issue with the size, right? It's simply too big. Remember, we can also fix size right here, right? We learned that, but let's bring sprite to be 100% as what would be a typical size. So to call it 100% typical size, we're gonna convert here to vector, right? Because vector is scalable. And then we're gonna select our sprite and simply reduce it in size. I would recommend to go somewhere close to 100 pixels or so. So this is about good size. You see, like 89 by 103. And also we want to center it. So you see like these crosshairs, this is where the sprite is going to be rotated about that point. So we need to pick, depending on what we want, but in principle it would be typically in the center of the sprite, right? And this is now our custom-made sprite that we brought into the on the stage. We can do with it whatever else we could do with other sprites, right? So we can go here, rotate it, right? If that's what we want. We can scale it, right? Go to 50% scale or double the size, right? And so on. And simply use our custom-made sprite. Okay, so this completes our, I would say, three-part, really introductory section to Scratch. And now we have this kind of basic overview of all the aspects of the Scratch. And then we'll just continue now going through particular groups of functions that are very important for us so that we can continue to improve into our building capabilities and build like a more and more complex codes, right? That's what we want to do eventually. So, but for today and for now, this is it for the lesson number 3.